So roughly a year and a half ago, back when I was still relatively new to this whole YouTube content game, I created a video going over how evil each of the villains are that appeared in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I received a lot of great feedback, as well as some good discussion regarding each of the villains. With the 5th year anniversary of Smash Ultimate coming right up, I wanted to do a similar video, except to focus instead on who the greatest heroes of the game are. And just like the villains list that I had, I need to lay down a bunch of ground rules first to help qualify my list. So first off, the characters that are listed aren't only judged by the good that they've done from their respective game or series. How they've behaved within the overall Smash lore counts as well. This can apply to like Melee's Adventure Mode, Brawl's Subspace Emissary storyline, and the Wii U, 3DS, and Ultimate's CGI cinematic introduction videos. Up for debate are characters that are selectable via the character select screen, without glitch or hack in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Certain characters that appear in the background of stages, like Knuckles, Andy Bogard, or Best Girl Makoto, don't count. Characters that appear as spirits in Ultimate or trophies in past games that were not selectable characters in Ultimate also won't count towards the list. Neither do assist trophies, so characters like Zero or Dr. Wright don't count. I mean, hey, come on. Dr. Wright did help me raise my Metropolis in SimCity and deal with getting catfished in Link's Awakening. Mii costumes are also out of the running. So, no Lloyd, no Doom Guy, or no Geno. Some of these just really cut really hard. Alternate costumes that could represent other characters also don't count. This includes stuff like Diddy Kong's Dixie Kong alt and any of the Fire Emblem characters' alts, kind of repping other characters from the games that they're from. And villains that were once heroes don't count. Sorry, Sephiroth fans. Villains that are sometimes playable heroes or anti-heroes also don't count. This applies if they've played as villains from their game of origin, were villains more than heroes in their respective series, or are simply meant to be the series villain in Smash Brothers. Basically, any character I featured in the Worst Villains video are not applicable to this Greatest Heroes one. And a couple notes, because this, as you can tell, this is kind of getting heavy with rules. Neutral characters also won't be judged here. This includes the likes of Wii Fit Trainer, Mr. Game & Watch, The Villager, and more. This is because there's an innate neutrality to the gameplay loop that their entries are from, that heroism just couldn't be gleaned. And then, finally, no Pokemon. This is because the Pokemon themselves can't be evil. They're tools that are used by the trainers themselves for either good or evil. Now, why am I not judging the Pokemon trainer then? It is a selectable character, because in Smash, when you select the Pokemon trainer, the player doesn't control the trainer. They control the Pokemon themselves, Charizard and Squirtle and whatnot. And it goes back to the conundrum of judging the neutrality of said Pokemon. Now, what is heroic level? How do you judge that? The way I assign heroic level for each of the heroes is it's a ranking between 1 and 10 that I've put together for all of the heroes that I'm judging based on a number of metrics. This includes how many times they've saved the day, how much of an impact that this has had. So, for example, think how much of an impact Donkey Kong has getting his banana horde back versus Cloud saving the world. Heroic level also includes just how evil the villains they face are, and if the hero themselves has ever gone over to the dark side. Also, how often the hero themselves have had to be rescued, the quality of the relationships that the heroes themselves have with others, and also even what kind of internal or mental conflict that they've had. Like, how does that impact their own wish or desire to do good? And one more thing I know before we dive in, I've played a lot of video games. I'm old, so I've got almost 40 years of gaming experience. But in no way have I played all of the video games ever created. And that includes the entirety of all the video game characters that all of the selectable characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate have been in. When I'm missing knowledge on a certain character and their history, I sort of relied on what I could find within the Smash series itself and other reliable sources on the internet, though, again, I'm not perfect. And so whenever I introduce a character, I'm also not only going to provide like what I had there as an aggregated hero level, but also what I judge on my own knowledge level for each character. And also between 1 and 10, this number is like an own score that I'm giving myself to judge my own familiarity with the character and their respective series. Sort of like a self-check, because I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge, for example, of the Super Mario series, but I do not have a lot of knowledge on the Pokemon series or even Metal Gear Solid. So, and like, what am I at? Over 5 minutes in, and I still haven't jumped to the ranking. And that's of course because my fellow Smash fans, my brethren, I'm trying to take this as seriously as I can to help appease said Smash fans. And with that said, am I going to make everybody happy? Definitely not, as evidenced by some of the great but spicy comments that I got on the Worst Villains video. But, regardless, I'm excited to jump in and rank these fantastic video game heroes. And of course, if you like what you hear, make sure to like the video and hit subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. Also, make sure to let me know your thoughts and takes in the comments section below. And just like a lot of other videos, I'm going to be doing this as a combined tier or ranking video. So like any hero that has a heroic score of like 9 and above will be like S tier, and like between 8 and 9 will be A tier, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into our greatest heroes check here. And we're going to start in the general order of introduction that the characters in Smash Brothers were introduced. This of course, going all the way back to Smash Brothers 64 to, of course, the most current game of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So that means we are going to start ranking one of the greatest heroes, of course. That's going to be Mario. And Mario, my knowledge level of the Super Mario series is absolutely a 10 out of 10. I've played all of the mainline games and a lot of the spin-off ones. And he, in my opinion, is a S tier. He is, my heroic rating for him is a 9.17, and this of course is because he's saved the day over 25 times, at least 25 times, in like all the different types of games he's been in. He always saves Peach and the other kingdoms and everything like that. Sometimes he's joined by his brother Luigi, and then if he ever fails to save the day, which is usually in the RPG games, he often comes back stronger than ever to do so. Now, villain-wise, of course, Bowser, Bowser's one of the more eviler of the villains, but at the same time, like, he doesn't outright kill any of the individuals that he tries to take over from the kingdoms that they're from. So it's not like it's a big, like, oh, he's so bad and everything like that. Now, whether or not Mario was ever a bad guy, that's a big yes, because technically Mario was a bad guy in the second game that he was in, which is Donkey Kong Jr. But besides that, that was really it, and he ends up fighting Link in the Subspace Emissary, but that's more like a miscommunication or misunderstanding. And regarding Mario being rescued, he's needed to be rescued a few times. Of course, the masterpiece Mario is missing, Luigi is the one that comes and saves the day and rescues Mario, as well as in like Luigi's Mansion series. He often gets rescued by Mario. Mario gets rescued by like Luigi, and Princess Peach actually rescues I think both Mario and Luigi in Super Princess Peach on the DS. And Mario himself's got great relationships with everyone else in the series, and he even takes the time to invite his villains like Bowser and I guess technically DK to a lesser extent to go karting and play sports and everything. So with that said, and the fact that he always inherently does the right thing, so there's no like inner monologue or anything like that is expressed in any of the games, like he's always wanting to do the right thing. So he absolutely belongs in the S tier. Next up, we're going to do DK. And DK is interesting because he's one of the ones where he has only saved the day maybe about 3 to 5 times, just because, like, the Donkey Kong Country series, there's 5 games in there, and then you got like lesser games like Donkey Kong King of Swing. So, like, he hasn't saved the day near as often as much, and rather than saving kingdoms and everything, it feels like he's more so saving his own stuff. And again, he might have been in five of the Donkey Kong Country games, but he himself was not the main hero in all of them. We'll get to that. So, with that said, considering he's more saving the Banana Horde or his own island and everything like that, kind of lowers the numbers. I wouldn't say S tier. His own villain, like King K. Rool, again, not outright killing anybody, but he's capturing territory and being quite selfish and everything like that. The Tikis and the Snowmads in Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze are pretty villainous, where again they want to take over Donkey Kong's island. Which, by the way, I would say my knowledge level for DK is probably a 9 out of 10, because I haven't played like the Donkey Konga games, and I don't think I played a Donkey Kong King of Swing for more than an hour. And the funny thing, though, is DK is often the bad guy in, of course, Donkey Kong 3, Donkey Kong Jr. does math. No, he's not a really bad guy. In the Mario vs. DK series, he's often the bad guy. And he's more like mischievous than like evil. And then and Donkey Kong, as I mentioned before, he has had to be rescued at least twice before, both by Diddy Kong in the second Donkey Kong Country game and Dixie Kong in the third one. And he's got a great relationship with the Kongs, and funny enough, kind of with Mario, in that he joins the roster of characters in like Mario Kart and tennis games and everything, and he doesn't really have any internal conflict. So based on the fact that he doesn't really save the day as often, and he has been a villain almost as much as he's been a hero, I'm putting him, his overall hero rating was at a 6 on my end, so I'm putting him like D tier. Like he's real low for the hero rating. Next up is going to be Link, and it should be known this is Breath of the Wild Link, as determined by the newest Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Again, Breath of the Wild Link. This is a lot of times Link himself is more like the player's avatar, so how evil he or how bad he is depends on the behavior of the player, but it's safe to say both in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I'd rank myself a 10 out of 10 for knowledge level, he's always a stalwart ally of like Zelda. He had a great relationship with those he builds through special quests and everything like that. He saves the day twice, although he fails twice technically, where Zelda had to save him and Waru had to save him in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom respectively. So, but villain-wise, Ganon and Ganondorf, evilest of the evil. They will not only take over the kingdom, but they'll kill if they have to, as evidence in Tears of the Kingdom for one of the kills that he does. And I'll avoid spoilers just because that game is still new enough as of the recording of this video. So, really evil bad guy. But Link doesn't save the day as much. He has no dark side, really. I would place Breath of the Wild Link probably B tier, just how often he hasn't saved the day, but how much of a stalwart ally that he is. That and there's no real like internal conflict with him internally. I would probably give him like a mid 7s, maybe a mid low 8s for Breath of the Wild Link. So I'm gonna put him in the A tier just for now. We'll see where everyone stacks up. Next up, of course, you see Samus Aran, and Samus is badass. Pardon me. I'm a huge Metroid fan. My knowledge level of the Metroid series is a 10. She has saved the day through missions that she completes at least 8 times, because you got the whole Metroid Prime series, you've got the regular 2D series of Metroid games, and then the most important of all, Metroid Prime Pinball. So it's quite evident that even if it was stuck in Morph Ball mode, she saves the day. And the effectiveness of her completing the mission could be argued, just like how often, like when she saves the day, is she really saving the day, or is she saving her own hide, as evidenced by the blowing up of the planets or wherever she's leaving. But regardless, she's often a hero, often does a good job staying on, completing her missions and everything like that, to ensure like the X-Parasite doesn't spread beyond the planet or locations that it's at, or that space pirates are stopped. Speaking of which, villain-wise, worst of the worst, evilest of the evil, space pirates, Mother Brain, the X-Parasite, super evil. Samus does a great job of stopping them dead flat. Samus doesn't go on the dark side. And I'm going to say that because Dark Samus is not Samus. Dark Samus is not Samus. Dark Samus is the Phazon suit from Metroid Prime 1 that was pulled from Samus at the end of Prime 1 and absorbed by Metroid Prime. So Dark Samus is not Samus. That being said, Metroid Prime 3, when she's wearing, I think it's the PED suit, even at the end when she's the suit is the most corrupted, she still stays on mission, she still does the job, and still executes it as well as she could, just basically destroying the whole source of Phazon and causing Phazon overall to become inert. So, no dark side for Samus herself. She's even able to fight the corruption. Of course, yeah, so no evil there. She was saved a few times. She's saved by the baby Metroid at the end of Super Metroid. She is saved by the Galactic Federation at the beginning of Metroid Fusion. And it could be said, like in Metroid Other M, how often she could be saved by her fellow compatriots in the Galactic Federation, but it's Other M, right? Now, relationship-wise, Samus doesn't have a lot of really good relationships. She's a bounty hunter, she's a loner, a rebel dottie. She's one that doesn't work well with others, as evidenced by the isolationist nature of most of her games, not counting Prime 3, Other M, and a little bit of having to work with the computer AI, later named, of course, Adam, in Metroid Fusion and Metroid Dread. But for the most part, she works alone, doesn't really build any relationships. And regarding internal conflict, she's, again, if we threw Metroid Other M out the window, she is resolute in her own internal beliefs, but if you include Other M, which Metroid Dread does, she does have a lot of misgivings, especially after all the PTSD she got from Super Metroid. So I'm putting her, my overall hero rating for Samus was about an 8.3. I'm putting her in the A tier, but high A tier. She's probably going to be, I would say she's probably going to lead the pack of the A's. So that's where I see her at. Next up is Yoshi. So I loved Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2. I didn't care for Yoshi's story, and that really is pretty much my knowledge level of the Yoshi series, or the games Yoshi's from, where he's the star. So really for that, it's more him saving like the Super Happy Tree, or trying to make sure to return Mario to the store so he can be delivered, to Mario and Luigi. So he's a good hero. The villains really are just like Bowser Jr., so like it's more, the stakes aren't really all that high, beyond, of course, making sure Mario and Luigi get delivered to their parents. Yoshi never goes to the dark side. He doesn't need to be. He does need to be rescued in Super Mario World right in the beginning, when he gets rescued from like the question mark and being placed in the egg. So he does technically need to be rescued there. He has great friendships with the other Yoshis and everything like that, and no real internal conflict with him. So I'm going to put him, just because like the stakes aren't all that high and everything like that regarding like how many times he saved the day in his own games, but he's been a stalwart ally of Mario, and the villains really aren't that bad for his own games. With how often he's helped Mario save the day, you out there in computer land, in internet land, you're going to be mad at me, but I'm putting Yoshi above Link, just because Breath of the Wild Link has saved the day twice, failed twice. Yoshi has been successful in helping Mario save the day every time when he's helped him, and in his own games. And again, remembering my knowledge level, I'd probably put at a 5 or a 6, because I've only played 2 of the main Yoshi games. I've played all the ones he's been a helper of Mario in, so that's why I'm putting him where he's at. Kirby, though. Kirby, my knowledge level of his games is probably a 6 or a 7. I've only played about 5 to 7 of Kirby's games, so not that many, but he has saved the day like maybe over 10 times in many of his games. He's always he's stalwart in ensuring that he returns Dreamland to where it should be, or helps to get home to Dreamland, or save the worlds where he's in. And the funny thing is, regarding the villains for Kirby, Kirby games, it's usually like King Dedede, maybe once in a blue moon Meta Knight, but the villains are always somebody worse, and it's usually like really bad villains, like the Nightmare or something like that, where like it's like the evilest of evil, where it's not really like said what could happen like with that evil. So the villains, they're not going to kill anybody like Ridley for the Metroid series of like Space Pirates, or like Ganondorf or anything like that, kind of the same thing, but still pretty bad. Kirby doesn't really go to the dark side. Sometimes when he's put on an objective, like he unknowingly helps like some of those really awful villains. Like I think it was Kirby's Adventure for the NES, where he goes through the process of like getting the Star Rod or something like that, and King Dedede tries to stop him. But in Kirby doing that, King Dedede was trying to stop him because King Dedede knew of the evil. If the Star Rod was released, it was keeping the Nightmare back, if I'm remembering all that right. So, or when in Kirby Superstar, he was trying to help Marks, but Marks ends up like taking the wish that he could have gotten and tricks Kirby in that way. So it's not that Kirby's inherently evil, so that's not really a thing with that. To my knowledge, Kirby's never really been rescued, but he's been helped by King Dedede and Meta Knight before. And it should be noted, Kirby was the only one out of the entire character roster in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that didn't need to be rescued in that storyline for Smash Bros. Ultimate. And again, great relationships with everybody. Kirby's resolute in his details. I'm putting Kirby better hero than Mario, because even though Mario's got Kirby beat on how many times he's saved the kingdom, Kirby still has always been successful. He's never been the bad guy. Great relationships. His villains are about as evil as Mario's, maybe even worse, just because the whole Nightmare aspect I mentioned. And Kirby's never really needed to be rescued like Mario has a couple times. So even though a funny thing is I like Mario games more, I feel like Kirby is the better hero, crazy as that sounds. So next up is going to be Fox. I'm going to call my knowledge level of Fox, and I'm going to lump Falco in with Fox. My knowledge level for the Star Fox series is going to be a 5. I've only played Star Fox for the Super Nintendo, Star Fox 64, so it's not real great. So I'm kind of relying on some of the interwebs knowledge. Fox has worked with the Star Fox team to help ensure the security of the Lilat system, as well as work independently to save Dinosaur Planet. And he couldn't save Planet Corneria from being destroyed. I think that was Star Fox Assault. So there was kind of a failure there. Andros and the other villains are really, really bad, really evil. They will destroy and kill people if they come to it. Fox, though, has never gone to the dark side. Falco himself I think he was his own mercenary, but Fox helped to convince him to join Star Fox, the Star Fox team. Oftentimes, Star Fox's team has helped back up and save Fox in many of the missions, as well as like at the end of Star Fox 64, when the spirit of Fox McCloud's father, James McCloud, saves Fox. And then he was also backed up by Star Wolf when he was fighting against the Aporoids. And again, gets along well with the team, as evidenced by getting Falco to join him. And no real internal conflict with Fox, as he always seems like he always goes towards his goals, although I'm sure he wasn't happy with the fact that like he couldn't help save Planet Corneria. Again, I think that was Star Fox Assault. I think that's what that is. So I'm putting Fox in the A tier, because I think I have Fox at a rating of like 8.5. So he's going to be higher than Link, but lower than Yoshi. And then Falco, I'm going to put him he's going to end up probably low A tier, because again, he was a mercenary before Fox convinced him, and Falco wasn't there on Dinosaur Planet, the greatest Star Fox game ever made, which of course was Star Fox Adventures. And if you don't like Star Fox Adventures, then shame on you. No, I think I played Star Fox Adventures only a little bit, and I wasn't like the biggest fan. Sorry, my Rareware fans. One of the few Rare games where I didn't really care for it as much, but regardless. But yeah, so I'd say Fox, Link, then Falco. Next up is going to be Luigi. and I'm putting Luigi. Y'all are going to be mad at me for this. I'm putting Luigi above Mario. Okay, yeah, it's very clear I'm going to be biased on Luigi. I've played all of his games, which of course includes all of the Mario games, but also the Luigi's Mansion games. So not only has Luigi joined Mario in nearly all of his adventures as player 2, making that clear, as player 2, although not in some of the 3D ones, because of course, like Mario 64, Mario Odyssey, you can't select Luigi in those, Mario Sunshine, but in like others like Super Mario 3D World and Mario 64 DS, Luigi's right there in the thick of it, another playable character with Mario. One of the big things is when Mario is captured and Mario is missing and Luigi's Mansion, it's Luigi that is saving him. Not only is Luigi saving Mario, but Luigi is also often in Luigi's Mansion series very terrified, very scared. It's evident that he doesn't like ghosts and everything like that. Despite that, the personification of bravery is facing your fears time and time again. 3 games, Luigi's Mansion 1 through 3, and he's doing it. He is facing his fear to save Mario, to save his friends, and the fact that also Luigi was never, to my knowledge, he's never been a villain. So, and that's why Luigi is the greater hero than Mario. Next up is going to be Ness. I've played Earthbound, of course, Mother 2. I'm putting him as lower A tier because he has only saved the day once, whereas Falco has helped Fox save the day a number of times. Ness has saved the world, of course, from awful evil Gigas, which was part of Ness's father's doing in the first game, Mother 1, or Earthbound Beginning 0. That's not canon. The fact that Ness's father is Ninten, the hero from the first Mother game, I don't think that's canon. But because Gigas comes back in one of the greatest forms of evil, probably like not Ganondorf, Ridley, Sephiroth level, but still really, really evil. That's why Ness's hero level so high, the hero level. Also, the fact that even like Porky, how evil Porky became. Now, Ness was confirmed to have an evil side just based on the fact that, like, when Ness goes to Magicant and he fights Ness fights his own nightmare form. The fact that there was evil in his heart, but he was able to defeat it. Just the fact that there was evil. And let's be honest, tripping balls in a closet in Forsyth with your buddy Jeff. I mean, come on, is it maybe not evil, but like he's letting a little bit of his id side rule there. Ness has also had to have been rescued by Jeff when Ness and Paula were captured by zombies. Ness gets along great with his friends and everything like that, creates a stalwart party that helps to defeat Gigas. And of course, with the power of the 8 melodies, the 8 melodies, that's Ninten. The sanctuary sites, the 8 of them, he's able to gain an innumerable amount of power and beat any sort of self-doubts that he has. So yeah, Ness, the only reason he's not as high as Falco, like he's a stalwart hero, but only once, and only in this game, though it should be noted he does rescue Lucas and from Wario and the Subspace Emissary, and does sacrifice himself for that. Next up, though, is going to be Captain Falcon. Falcon's interesting because, like, he's saved the day in, like, F-Zero GX and the storyline there, fighting Black Shadow and then the higher or greater evil Deathborn. I would rate my overall knowledge of F-Zero, even though I love it, as 8 out of 10 because I have not played... I've only played one of the 3 of the Game Boy Advance games. But again, the evil of like Black Shadow and Deathborn it's described as one of the most evil in the universe, but it's not really said exactly what that is or what the evil is. Falcon himself has never gone to the dark side again, is kind of within the lore of the games themselves. I'm not counting the anime TV show or anything in any of this, so keep that in mind. Even if one of the 3 Game Boy Advance games is based off the anime, it's a little cloudy there. Now, Falcon himself really hasn't been rescued. There's rumors around himself being or becoming Captain Falcon because his life was saved before, so, kind of keep taking that into tally. But Falcon really also works independently, kind of like how Samus does as a bounty hunter, but he gets along well with his allies like Jodie Summers or Rick Wheeler. And then, but again, he kind of distances himself. But Falcon doesn't really have any internal conflict or anything like that. I'm going to put Falcon kind of in the B tier because, like, it's, yeah, he kind of saves the day in GX, but it's not really, like, said what would happen if he saved the day. And he saves the day by racing. It's kind of like the same way Diddy Kong saves the day by racing. Racing Wizpig. Like, how does that actually beat? And, like, how do you beat somebody by beating him in a race? You know, I digress, but he'd probably be a high B tier. Next up is going to be Princess Peach, and she's interesting because her villains are always like, it's always Bowser. She's almost always captured, with the exception of like the Super Princess Peach DS game, and then Princess Peach Showtime, I think it is. As of the recording of this video, that game is not been out yet, or not released yet, so I don't really know who the villain is. So she's not really so much of like a big hero or anything. But she did save Mario, and I think Luigi once in Super Princess Peach. The villains aren't all that, like, evil. She doesn't go to the dark side. She's got great relationships because, of course, she's the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. No real internal conflict. Being that she is often captured a heck of a lot more often than she saves the day, she's going to go in the C tier, and Daisy's going to go right along in the D tier below Donkey Kong because she's appeared once in Super Mario Land as a princess that needed to be saved and helped one of 12 characters that helped save the day in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but then that's it. She just go-karts with the Super Mario friends and everything like that. So she doesn't really... It's not her fault, not Daisy's fault, because she's never really got to star in her own game or anything. So, but yeah, D tier. Next up is going to be Sheik. Should note, again, when I'm referencing these characters here, please make note of what they look like. Again, Zelda series, this Sheik is from Ocarina of Time. Because this is adult Sheik, this means spoilers, of course, for this game that's almost 30 years old. Sheik is Princess Zelda from Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time only. Sheik helps Link from Ocarina of Time by providing melodies and everything like that. But once she reveals herself as Princess Zelda, she gets captured. And then she, of course, becomes Princess Zelda. So again, while Princess Zelda in Ocarina of Time helps Link save the day, that is no longer Sheik because she has revealed herself as Zelda. And I'm saying that because of also the fact that Smash Brothers very clearly, as of, I want to say it was Brawl, separated Sheik and Zelda. No, I'm sorry, it was as of the Smash 4. Separated Sheik and Zelda, and Smash Ultimate, same thing. It's important to note that Sheik and Zelda are two different characters, and Sheik is its own entity. So I'm putting Sheik as a D tier, higher than Daisy, because Sheik, while it's never saved the day, the villain is really evil, Sheik wants to help Link by providing all of those melodies and guidance as to where Link needs to go. But Sheik never saves the day. Sheik does help by staying in this form, elude Ganondorf from being captured so that Ganondorf doesn't get the second piece of Triforce, because that's within Sheik. But again, that's, in my opinion, that's where Sheik belongs. Now, y'all are going to be pissed at me here too, because again, presence and representation is key. This Zelda is not the Zelda from Ocarina of Time like it was from the Smash Brothers Melee. This Zelda is, Matsuhiro Sakurai had said that this change in Zelda is the Super Nintendo version, the one from Ocarina of Time, not the one from Link Between Worlds either, because that's another important distinction. This Zelda served to only be captured twice, and Link had to save this Zelda twice. This Zelda does give a little bit of guidance to Link in the Link to the Past. This Zelda does give Link to the Past Link guidance, but that's it. Doesn't save the day. The villain is really evil, of course, because it's Ganon. Wants to take over Hyrule, but doesn't. Again, this Zelda is not really that great of a hero and has to be rescued twice, whereas Sheik reveals themselves to be Princess Zelda in Ocarina of Time, though no longer applies from there. So Now, Dr. Mario, how big a villain Dr. Mario fights are viruses. Could you say he's the best hero of all because of the fact that look at the how all the effects of 2020 to 2021 with the word that rhymes with schmandemic, how awful that virus was. And Dr. Mario is fighting those viruses. Is he the biggest hero of all? No. This is just Dr. Mario where he's just standing there throwing pills so that you, the player, can help save the day. So fighting viruses is important, but I'm putting this form of Mario, Dr. Mario, just here. Of course, if you think about like Dr. Mario, and again, my recognition of the Dr. Mario series of games is pretty much like a 8 or 9 out of 10 out of 10. He kind of saves the day in Dr. Mario 64, but I'm keeping Dr. Mario here, right here. I think that's the good spot for him. So next up, of course, is going to be really a myriad of Fire Emblem characters. But you know what? I'm going to skip them for just a brief second, just a brief moment. I'm going a little out of order because I'm going to do Young Link next. Now, I kind of talked about a couple of the Legend of Zelda characters, which the Zelda series overall, I'd give my knowledge level maybe an 8 or a 9 because I didn't play a lot of the handheld Zelda games, but I did play all the mainline console ones. The Young Link version of Link here are all console ones, and there's 3 of them. Young Link is from Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and technically Twilight Princess, where not only does Young Link save the day twice, Young Link also helps the Twilight Princess version of Link to save the day by being their mentor and trainer and everything like that. So Young Link, of course, saves the day in Hyrule by traveling to the future, and then of course going back to the past using the Master Sword to help defeat Ganondorf, again one of the evilest of the evil. Also helps to prevent Majora's Mask from causing a summoned moon to crash into Termina. So again, that's a really great heroism there. Though again, Young Link probably saving the day or helping to save the day 3 times, not near as much as some of these heroes, but just the momentous level of him being a hero is so high there, especially the fact of how evil the villains technically are. Young Link does not have a dark side. Now, it could be argued that the Dark Link version of Link in Ocarina of Time that's in the Water Temple technically pulls from Link's shadow, but that doesn't mean that is an embodiment of evil himself. Besides, of course, how evil the Water Temple is, just in its perplexity. Now, Link does help to get backed up by Zelda in Ocarina of Time, as both with the power of the Wisdom of Triforce and the light magic, Zelda is able to help Link defeat Ganondorf, as well as Sheik helping to assist Link in defeating Ganondorf by providing all the support there. And Link has a great relationship with all of those that he has, and also shows that he has the ability to set up relationships before the game with, like, Saria, for example. And it's not really well known or stated clearly in Twilight Princess whether or not he had an established relationship with, like, either Zelda or Malon or anything like that. But with him being like a Knight of Hyrule and him being like that skeletal form of that, it's evident that, you know, he had an established relationship there. And of course, no internal conflict or anything like that. To me, Young Link is probably the greatest hero of The Legend of Zelda that is in the Smash Brothers series. So he belongs in the S tier. Probably have him at like a 9, like a solid 9.0 for the overall hero level. The only thing that could push him less is just the simple fact that, like, he hasn't saved the day as often. And looking at this, I don't know if I'd put him even higher than Samus, just because of, like, how many times Samus has pulled through. So you know what, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put Young Link here, because my official ranking, actually, I apologize, it wasn't 9.0, it was 8.83. I was looking at a different character. So yeah, I would say Young Link is high A tier. He's definitely higher than Breath of the Wild Link. And then another Link that we're going to discuss shortly. But let's talk Fire Emblem characters. Now, I'm going to prerequisite this with the fact that each game I have different levels of experience with. Like Marth's games, I probably would rank myself maybe a knowledge level of like 5 or 6, because I've only played the NES version, the one that was ported to the Nintendo Switch. Of that Fire Emblem, I know he's from 2 Fire Emblem games where he was the main hero of, whereas I played Fire Emblem Awakening, where both Lucina and Chrom are from, whereas Roy, I think it's Fire Emblem The Binding Blade, the second Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem game, I have no knowledge of. So with that said, I'm going to do something really specific to some of these Fire Emblem heroes. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to kick Ike ahead a little bit. I'm going to move up Corrin, and then I'm going to go ahead and move Robin. Let's just go ahead and knock out Fire Emblem right now, because this is going to kind of be sort of a let's assess myself. I'm going to put them, but I'm going to assess myself by my knowledge level. So again, Marth, I'd say my knowledge level is probably like a 6 out of 10. He is an excellent hero. He, of course, has helped to save his kingdom of Altea when him and his followers were kicked out of it originally, I think in the first game, but he went back and helped to fight Medeus, he was also helped to support Alear in Fire Emblem Engage, so he's kind of like how a mentor to Alear, and in that way, he's kind of like how Young Link was to the Twilight Princess Link. With all of that said, Marth, in my mind, right now goes to Young Link right before Young Link, because even though he's only helped save the time 2 to 3 times, the villains are super bad. They're super evil, where they would want to take over the kingdom and probably kill hundreds of people. The Marth doesn't really have a dark side at all either, not counting, of course, memes from Fire Emblem Engage of him turning dark side and turning red or whatever that was. Marth never really needs to be rescued, besides, of course, in-game players, other allies backing him up in a pinch in a battle. Great relationship development, no issues like inner monologue wise or anything like that either. Again, to my knowledge, knowledge level 6. Suck Lucina. I'm going to be crazy guy, and I'm putting Lucina right above, right with Marth. Yeah, right with Marth. Just because of the fact that she only saved the day once, but she had literally a hell of a future because of the really awful stuff that Grima helped to perpetuate with the Fell Dragon and having that apocalyptic future. Her father, Chrom, gets killed, and Robin, being possessed by Grima, is taking everything over, and she's literally by the skin of her teeth trying to survive and trying to help, and she manages to get back in time and kind of perpetuate herself as Marth with a mask, and really help to support the team there too. She does help to change the time and for the better, and help to save the day. So even though she does it once, again, the evil is just so bad, and she is really the underdog, kind of more so than Marth. Although Marth, there's no, I don't want to undersell all of his merit, because he does get kicked out of his kingdom and everything like that. That's a big deal, and there's a lot of that kind of sort of conflict with the Fire Emblem series itself. So I'm putting, I'm going to put Lucina lower than, because again, she's only saved the day once. I'm going to put her right here, because she's really had, Ness has really had a lot of time travel, timey-wimey travel stuff, where Lucina didn't have to give up her body like Ness did. So you know what, Lucina's going here. She's a tier hero, but all of these heroes have done more heroics than her. And technically, Lucina had to be rescued from the evilness of Captain Falcon by Robin in the Smash 4 trailer. Speaking of Robin. Let's go ahead and hit Robin here. I'm putting Robin as low B tier because of the fact that Robin gets possessed by Grima and ends up resulting in the apocalyptic future that Lucina had from. Although when Lucina goes back in time, that helps to be the catalyst to prevent Robin from being possessed. Again, we're kind of like throwing the exception of the fact that like all the crazy relationships that you can develop in Awakening, and what, like, Robin can technically marry Lucina, but then Robin can also be Lucina's mother. Yeah, it gets a little crazy with that, but the fact that Robin can become the main villain thanks to being possessed by Grima to Lucina and Crom, that's kind of where Robin belongs. And to that end, Crom, I'm putting him right below Robin because Crom does fail and does get killed and does have to be rescued by Lucina when she travels back in time to help, so that Lucina can help sort of change events and everything like that. Lucina does sort of monitor the events as they go along in Awakening, to where sometimes they stay the same, sometimes they change a little bit. But again, the fact that Crom fails and that he dies, and of course the fact that Crom fails and has to be rescued by Robin, and Crom fails so much that he can't even become a main character in Smash 4 due to the events of the Smash 4 trailer. He's less than Robin, but he's still a really great hero, and he is the father of Lucina. You would have no Lucina without Crom. Next up, let's do Roy. I apologize again. I have not played the Fire Emblem Binding Blade game, so I don't know the exploits of Roy and his father, Ellawood or Lyn. It's probably one of the many of the games that's on my backlog. I'm going to put Roy above Robin, but I'm going to put Roy above Captain Falcon, because Roy clearly saved the day in the events of that game. I don't know if he had a dark side. I'm assuming with it being a Fire Emblem game, the villain was awful. It was a horrendous. It was a villain that had horrendous deeds. So I'm putting Roy there. Knowledge level for Fire Emblem Binding Blade, the games that Roy's from, and even Ellawood. We're not considering Ellawood because Ellawood is Roy's father. That's not in consideration, but I'm putting my knowledge level at a 2 or a 3. So he's going here again. That's where my knowledge level puts him. To that end, I'm also putting Ike. I'm putting Ike in low A tier because of the fact that my knowledge level of Ike and his games is at about a 2 or 3, because I did not play the GameCube or Wii games like Path of Radiance and I think Radiant Blade. I have not played those games Ike has been in, so that's why I'm putting knowledge level maybe 2 or 3. But I do know that Ike has saved the day twice. It's important to note that it's a Fire Emblem game, so he's like all the Fire Emblem characters, develop great relationships, a really evil villain, everything like that. So I'm only keeping Lucina higher because, to my knowledge, there have not been timey-wimey shenanigans that have allowed Lucina to have defer an apocalyptic future, and all the hard work Lucina had that Ike didn't. Again, not diminishing Ike's progress. You know what? I'm actually going to put Ike above Lucina because, again, saved the day twice, Lucina once. Hopefully, again, Path of Radiance fans, Ike fans, please don't crucify me on that. Hopefully that's good for y'all. Again, Fire Emblem Fates. I've not played Fire Emblem Fates. I've heard it's probably the least of the Fire Emblem, more recent-ish Fire Emblem games. But to my knowledge, depending on which entry that you play or you get, depends on whether or not what side this Fire Emblem character Corrin takes. I'm putting this character Corrin a little above Robin because it sounds like what side of the faction that this belongs in. A little higher than Falcon, because at least I'm assuming this that Corrin saves the day. Again, knowledge level of 2 or 3. I can't say for sure. Byleth, I don't like the fact that this tier maker has the male Byleth. I prefer Hot Byleth, the female one, because as bad as it sounds, like, I think the female one is one of the best characterizations of a Fire Emblem character. Plus, I'm weird in that I don't care for the way that the male Byleth looks. only saves the day once, but depending on which path that you take, all the paths sort of lead to fighting like the greater evil, maybe except the Black Eagle's support Edelgard path. I'm going to put this Byleth above, between Roy and Corrin, because it only saves the day once. Again, there's 4 different paths to take, not counting the DLC. So I guess 5 then. But you can only go through that path once, and then you got the Fire Emblem Three Hopes game, which is a non-canon or in a different universe sort of thing. So I guess, what would you count that? You save the day twice. So I guess that puts Byleth here in the I'm going to say the lower A tier, because technically save the day twice. Although it's more, Inez? So it's not technically Byleth that helps to save the day. It's a different character. You know what? We're keeping Byleth. We're keeping Byleth between Roy and Corrin. I think that's fair. Let's get out of the Fire Emblem hole. We at least have ranked all 8 of the characters to either a lot of Fire Emblem fan angst or anger or whatnot. Let's get into Pit from Kid Icarus. So I have not played Kid Icarus Uprising. I have played the Game Boy and NES versions of Kid Icarus. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on with Kid Icarus Uprising. I'd say my knowledge level is 6, just because there's so much going on in that. So with that even said, Kid Icarus has helped to save the day 3 times in all 3 games. With one of the 3 lumping in a number of times he saved the day in Uprising. The villains of Medusa and Hades in Uprising, and then Medusa in the first 2 Kid Icarus games on the NES and Game Boy, pretty evil, wanting to take over Angel Land and everything like that. While Pit doesn't really have a dark side, Dark Pit, I look at Dark Pit being created based on Pit's reflection from Pandora's Mirror as, like, this is what it could be. It's not him. And even if it was Dark Pit being in the evil side of Pit, how often that Dark Pit helps to kind of save the day as like a neutral party. It can't be really said he's all that evil. Pit is rescued a number of times by Dark Pit and Palutena in Kid Icarus Uprising. And then he has a lot of really good relationships, specifically with like Palutena and then even Veridi, but he's more like, okay, he takes orders, so is it subservience or is it relationships? Pit himself, he's always got that cheerful demeanor no matter what happens. So he only saves the day once, and no, I'm wrong, 3 times. I'm going to put him as probably right between Falco and Ness, I think is fair, because Ness, again, saves the day only once, but he goes through a lot. Pit goes through a lot in Kid Icarus Uprising. So I think that's fair, and kind of a fair place to be. Next up, Zero Suit Samus. This is a very niche form, because this is Samus in 2 parts. Once, I think, in Other M, and then once in the remake of Metroid 1, Metroid Zero Mission. The heroism that she portrays there is really high, but it's all just to make sure she gets her suit back. So it's not like there's really much to her. And in Subspace Emissary, it's, again, to get the suit back. And so it's really, and I think she did help to rescue Pikachu in Subspace Emissary, but like it's not like it's that there's a lot going on, and it didn't really need a lot of rescuing. But the villains are pretty much, it's clear that the villains are the space pirates, or what is it, the Minister, I think it's called, from Subspace Emissary. I'm putting Zero Suit Samus lower than Peach, actually, in the C tier, because Peach does save the day, although she does say, Zero Suit Samus does save Pikachu, but Peach does save Mario and Luigi. But this one doesn't technically save the day. She gets her suit back, and it's this Samus that saves the day. So yeah, she's going to be C tier. Now Snake is interesting because Snake, I guess, would count as the main character or main hero for the Metal Gear Solid games. Of course, not like Metal Gear Solid 2 where Snake it starts playable, and then I believe it's Raiden becomes the playable character, and there's a little bit. I think Metal Gear Solid 4, it's Snake, but it turns out that it's a prequel, and it's Big Boss, and I think Big Boss ends up like a bad guy, so like that impacts it. But Snake helps to save the day a number of times, I think like 4 days. And again, this is assuming, Hideo Kojima, you and your convoluted stories. This is assuming, of course, this Snake is Solid Snake, not Liquid Snake or Venomous Snake or something like that. The villains themselves, you got like the main villain, of course, from like the original NES games or the MSX games are pretty evil, where they want to take over the world. Tactically, because Solid Snake's a clone, one of his fellow clones is evil. Does that mean that's his dark side? Or Big Boss, leading to a number of events afterwards, after Metal Gear Solid. And I'm sorry, was it the third or the fourth game is where it's a prequel where that Snake becomes Big Boss? Let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, I don't really know the Metal Gear Solid games as much because I'm not big into stealth. There's a lot of forms of Snake, so there could be a lot of dark side. There's a lot of internal conflict I'm sure Snake has had just with all the different forms of him and the forms, each of the conflicts that they had. I'm putting the hero level that I had for Snake was like at a 6. So just because of whether or not they were a hero or a villain or the forms that they were and all the crazy Hideo Kojima level storytelling, I'm putting Snake at a level of like here, because he helped to save the day, but a lot of times he helped to kind of become the villain. So it's really a mixed bag with him. Maybe in low level C tier, because it's like he's either really good or he's really not. Yeah, but he did help a lot of positivity by helping to stop imminent threats, and I think that's maybe where would help credit him. Maybe a high C tier, stopping the imminent threats, no matter what form of Snake that it is. Now, going to Diddy Kong, my knowledge level for all the games Diddy Kong's been in is pretty high. I'd probably say about an 8 or a 9. His level of heroism is a lot more altruistic than that of Donkey Kong's, because unlike Donkey Kong, where he's trying to save his banana horde, or maybe he was a villain to to Mario, Diddy Kong is constantly trying to save Donkey Kong, or he had to be rescued himself, again from King K. Rool, or he's trying to help to save the island where Diddy Kong Racing is from WizPig. So he has saved the day a couple times. And more imminent threats and everything like that. And he's helped Donkey Kong save the day from Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So I feel like Diddy Kong is definitely the greater hero. And the fact that he's never been the villain, he's going to be a high B tier, maybe even a low A tier hero. Which is crazy to think that DK is upper D's, but Diddy Kong is low A's, and the simple fact that DK's been the villain. He's the villain in at least two video games, and the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, whereas Diddy Kong, very clearly, he is a hero. He's never really been a villain. And not to be confused with Donkey Kong Jr. This is not Donkey Kong Jr. Next up is Lucas. Lucas, I'm putting him just a little bit below Ness, only because... You know what, fudge it. No, I'm going to put him a little bit below Ness because of the ending of Mother 3. I haven't played Mother 3, but I know about how all of it works, where it kind of seems like the world ends with Mother 3, so it's not like a happy ending. So is he really saving the day? But while he does get rescued by Ness, Lucas does help to rescue Ness there, as well as to help rescue Ness in the DLC trailer for Smash 4. So, that being said, I don't really know. You know what? I'm going to put Lucas with Roy because of the simple fact that I didn't play Roy's video game, and I really haven't played Mother 3, but I know how that goes. So yeah, I'm putting Lucas mid B tier. Now, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic has always saved the day. Always. He's always there to save the day and help prevent Dr. Robotnik or whatever deeper evil that's there from succeeding. My Sonic knowledge level probably would be about a 7, because I haven't played a lot of the games like Sonic and the Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic and the Werewolf, or whatever that's called, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Haven't played a lot of those 3D ones, but I've played nearly all of the 2D ones, and I've played a lot of the other 3D ones. And no matter what, Dr. Robotnik has always been stopped, and Dr. Robotnik's ambition himself has really been to capture and imprison animals to turn them into robots. Kind of reminds me of something like Skylines or something, where he wants to take whatever guts of the animal and have them possess whatever robots or something like that, for whatever reason, or I don't know, to help use the animal's energy to power the robots, which is kind of creepy and sinister. But overall, Dr. Robotnik, pretty evil villain. Sonic has never been corrupted at all. There's a lot of doppelgangers of Sonic, like Shadow, Mecha Sonic from like one of the bosses of Sonic 2. You got Metal Sonic, but he himself hasn't been corrupted. Even when he became a werewolf, like he was still like he was still on a mission. Like he still kind of kept to that. And even when he was corrupted in Sonic Frontiers, he still was kept his cheery demeanor, even though he was clearly suffering. And to that end, he was rescued by his friends in Sonic Frontiers, as well as Tails in the Tornado Airplane by catching him in the early Sonic games. But really, for the most part, it's Sonic helping to rescue his friends that he's developed great relationships with. He's always been a man on the mission, and never hesitated or hedged on where he was at, and he was never the villain. Now, he was in competition with... Now, he was murdered. It's important to note, he was murdered in that little sub game, who murdered Sonic the Hedgehog. So I don't... Is that really canon? Is that really not? So I'm going to put Sonic... Especially the fact that he was never a villain. He has helped save the day almost always, and all the time, like he's been like the main guy. I'm putting him between Mario and Luigi, just because of the fact that Luigi has shown real fear and has fought it every time to help rescue Mario and everything like that. Both Luigi and Sonic have never been the bad guy, but they've both been rescued and everything like that, but just the sheer number of times that Luigi saved the day, but a little bit higher than Sonic, especially the fact that there's never been any doubt that Sonic has never showed any fear or anything like that. So yeah, Sonic definitely belongs in the S tier here. Now, Toon Link. Toon Link is interesting because another Legend of Zelda character where Toon Link is helping to save the day like 4 times, if I'm remembering right. Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and technically Minish Cap. And if we want to throw the Four Swords Adventures games in there, we probably should, because it's the same aesthetic. And there's like 2 or 3 Four Swords games. And then what about the Triforce Heroes, the 3DS one? I want to say it's where he gets split into 3. It's also the same aesthetic. So he has saved the day a number of times. He is also stalwart on his mission. No doubts on himself. To my knowledge, he doesn't have a dark side. I haven't played all the games this Toon Link version has been in. Knowledge level probably about a 4 or 5, but just everything that I've read and seen, it's been a thing that where and another thing with Toon Link is it's not always Ganondorf. That's the evil, like in especially in Minish Cap, in Phantom Hourglass, in Spirit Tracks. It's not Ganondorf. So that's unlike the other Links where it's a form of Ganon or Ganondorf himself. It's not Ganon. It's a different villain every time. Yet Toon Link is still all the forms of Toon Link that are representative of this Link here, because this very clearly it's not like where this is clearly Breath of the Wild Link and this is clearly Young Link as represented by Ocarina of Time and the iterations he's from. This is Toon Link. It represents a number of the games that this aesthetic's from. So Toon Link is going into the lower S tier just because of how many times Save the Day. It hasn't needed rescuing very much at all. I'm saying that with the fact that I haven't played like Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks or anything like that very much. So keep that in mind. But yeah, he's actually, let's put him between. Let's do it like this, to where because Samus has hit her being high A tier. I think I'm going to leave him right there. Now, Mega Man has saved the day. And again, let's calibrate and confirm the fact that this is mainline Mega Man. This is not Mega Man X, Mega Man EXE, but Mega Man, I think it's Voltnut. Not any of those Mega Mans. This is mainline Mega Man, which means this is NES and Game Boy Mega Man. This is also so like Mega Man's 1 through 10, and this also counts as Mega Man Game Boy 1 through 5. And I want to say this is like Mega Man Power Battle 1 and 2, and Mega Man Soccer, the Mega Man board game thing on the NES version. That being said, he saved the day by defeating Dr. Wily over 15 times. Dr. Wily himself's villainous, quite the villain, where he wants to take over the world using robots to do so. Sometimes trying to turn Dr. Light into the villain, taking other alter egos, kidnapping like Dr. Cossack's daughter, Kalinka, to make him be like the villain. The means that Dr. Wily was soup is just, it can't be understated. And even when the planetary enemies from the 5th Mega Man Game Boy game, it's still pretty villainous there too. And Mega Man himself has never been corrupted. He's never, insofar as he's never been the villain. He nearly broke the rule of harm no humans in the end of Mega Man 7. He almost was going to blow away Dr. Wily with his Mega Buster until Bass saved Dr. Wily. So that does show a little bit of a dark side. Mega Man has been saved a number of times by Proto Man, like at the end of, I think, Mega Man 3, and I think even Mega Man 5, when he finally beats Dark Man. The real Proto Man shows up and saves him. Although it should be known that Mega Man does save Proto Man at like Mega Man, Rockman and Forte in the beginning there. He's got a great relationship even with all of his buddies like Otto, Eddie, Rush, Beat, Tango, of course his sister Roll. Again, no internal conflict on his end. He's programmed to do good and to always save the day. I'm putting him below Mega Man just because he's had to be rescued a couple more times by Proto Man. Oh, no, about the same time as Mario's been rescued by Luigi and Luigi's Mansion series and Peach. So yeah, Mega Man's definitely S tier because how many times he saved the day and selflessly and has great allies. Rosalina, I am going to put her higher than Daisy in the D tier because technically Rosalina never saves the day. Rosalina is the hero that helps to be a guide for Mario in Super Mario Galaxy, but it's really Mario that does the heavy lifting. And the reason Rosalina is higher than Daisy is because Rosalina technically doesn't get saved by Mario, I don't think. And I don't know the events of the Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle sequel, Sparks of Hope. I don't know the series of events there, so I don't know if she is like the bad guy that ends up being rescued. I can't say because I don't know. That might be the case, but either way, I'm putting her here. I think it's a good place for her to be at. Little Mac, I'm putting in low C tier because he's not saving the day. He's been in 5 games, Punch Out and Super Punch Out for the arcades, NES Punch Out, Super Punch Out for the Super Nintendo, and the Wii Punch Out. So he's not saving the day. He's just having a boxing career. Little Mac technically has not saved the day. He's fighting for himself, fighting for his own fame and glory. The fact that he is an underdog itself, he's where it doesn't show that he doesn't have good intentions. I even hummed and hawed to have him in the neutral or villain section just because of how neutral that is. But the fact that he has so much inner strength to be able to defeat literal odds on odds, I have a soft spot for that, especially because, I myself am a little guy. I'm only 5'8", so what can I say? I definitely appreciate his own gumption there. Next up is Palutena. Palutena I'm putting with Rosalina, because Palutena has been a guide for Pitt in the Kid Icarus Uprising game. She's helped out. She was rescued in the first NES game. She did become a villain a little bit, because she became kind of like, wary of humanity or something within the events of Kid Icarus Uprising. So you know what? I'm going to put her here. And the fact that she's mostly rescued and doesn't do any of the rescuing, I'm going to put Palutena here. But she does do a good job of guiding Pitt in Uprising for the most part. Pac-Man, he more so in his arcade games, there's no real, I've hummed and hawed about him being neutral, but in the console games like Pac-World, he's helped to save the day. Insofar as through the console games, there's a lot of variations of the plots where the villains, the ghosts, where they kidnap friends, especially on the hero's birthday. Pac-Man, what is there a theme about that? Like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it happens on Donkey Kong's birthday. Sonic Generations, that happens on Sonic's birthday. I don't know what's with that being overused, but some of the Pac-Man villains have wanted to destroy the world. Pac-Man doesn't really have a dark side, really. It doesn't appear that Pac-Man's ever needed to be saved, I think. Great relationship with Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Mom or whatever. There's a lot of, not neutrality, but kind of neutrality. It's like gray area with Pac-Man. Not a lot of character development, I don't think. But he has saved a lot of his friends, especially in Pac-World. We're going to put him in the low A tier, just because of mostly he's known from the arcade versions, and there's no real storyline with that. Now Shulk is interesting because he has saved the world and helped to reshape the universe to ensure that it's where there's no gods and everything like that. But technically, he is the villain, because this Shulk as we know it is really the villain Zanza, and he was really Klaus, who resulted in our literal world here, but in the future to become the split worlds of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, where Zanza is split in two, and one of the forms of that is the good side, which is Shulk. So that being said, he's really the dark side, and but really is the greatest villain. And technically Shulk is rescued by Fiora, as she sacrifices herself in the beginning of the game. His friends save him as Zanza nearly kills poor Shulk at one of the crazy developments in Xenoblade 1, where of course Shulk is from. Again, knowledge level, unlike Pac-Man here, knowledge level is only with the arcade games. I've played Xenoblade Chronicles from beginning to end. But he has helped save the day, and even twice, where Shulk in Xenoblade 3 as a future redeemed, he did help save the day there with Matthew. I'm not going to get into details because I don't want to say the DLC hasn't been out for more than a year. He's got a lot of great relationships, because again, the good form of Shulk, and he does chide himself for his own weakness from not being able to save Fiora. But he does have a lot of resolution to help save the world and meet his goals and everything like that, as well as really showing mercy to want to save Metal Face at the end, when Metal Face kind of dooms himself. When he sees a vision of Metal Face's death, he does decide, okay, I'm going to try and save this villain. So if we're really focusing on this version of Shulk being the good form of Zanza, where he's got all that dark side and everything like that to him. I'm going to put Shulk in the lower A tier, just because this is the good version of him. He's helped out to save the day more than once. I think that's a fair assessment. He's more conflicted and everything. He's got a lot more of a dark side than Ness. Just because he comes from the dark side of Zanza and then thus Klaus, But this form of Shulk is ultimately good and ultimately becomes a god himself to end it all. I mean, you want to talk about like man versus God. So in a way, he's almost. I'm going to put him ahead of Ness, actually. Yeah, that because Ness saved the day once, Shulk twice. Yeah, I think Shulk. Yeah, good place for Shulk. Next up is Ryu, and then I'm also going to lump in Ken. Ryu and Ken have helped to save the day by defeating M. Bison and his M. Bison's Shadaloo force. So I don't know what that encompasses, because my knowledge level of Street Fighter series is only about a 4 or 5. I've played the Street Fighter 2 to death. So keep in mind, I don't know the whole level at that. I feel like Ryu and Ken's motivation is more to find like the strong opponents and everything versus actually trying to save the day. Ryu does have a dark side, because of course the evil Ryu through Satsui no Hado, and then Ken, I think there's Violent Ken or something like that. They've received help through battles and everything like that from allies. Again, when I'm talking Street Fighter 2, I'm not talking the anime. Let's just focus on the games. Ryu's got a long-time friendship with Ken and vice versa. Good friendship with both Chun-Li and Guile. Funny enough, Ryu helped to gain his nemesis' Sagat's respect by consistently beating over a span of fights in the Street Fighter series, up to and including the first Street Fighter game. And while Ryu does struggle with his own dark side, I would say Ryu is I'm putting Ryu and Ken higher here because they've never needed to be rescued. They haven't consistently beaten higher threats as often as Snake, probably once or twice with the Street Fighter series, but they're really good guys, I would say. They have dark sides to them. You know what? Let's put Ryu and Ken here. I think that's a good. Next up is Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. It's no secret, Final Fantasy is my favorite series, and I know knowledge level of Final Fantasy is the highest. It's 10 out of 10. Cloud is the best hero of all. I'm not going to hear any argument otherwise. He's high S tier. No. Cloud is not high S tier. He did help save the world once, technically twice if you count Advent Children. He didn't really have a hand. Oh no, he did have a hand in saving Zack's life in Crisis Core, because without Cloud's intervention, as evidenced by the flashback also in Final Fantasy VII, Zack wouldn't have been able to have lived, I don't think, because it was Cloud that stopped Sephiroth in that Nibelheim flashback. But Sephiroth, again, one of the most evilest villains there could be. Should note that Cloud does have a dark side. He's got Genova cells in him, and he succumbs to them and Sephiroth's influence through those cells by giving Sephiroth the black materia and by following him through the reunion. Cloud also is technically an ally of Chaos in Dissidia 012 Final Fantasy. Though, of course, he is a hero in the as the events of that fold on, or becomes a hero. And then it should be known that he's rescued by Tifa. Obviously, Zack cares for him at the end of Crisis Core, but Tifa saves him spiritually, mentally, in Mideel when he's comatose, and they both go into the life stream. Technically, you could say that Aerith also saves his life in a way, with falling into her flowers, and just the dark side there too. When it should be noted, it's a horrible scene, but when Cloud is at the Temple of the Ancients, and it becomes a black materia. Not a lot of people talk about this. Cloud physically assaults Aerith, and while the player only has control of the avatar of him as a child while that occurs, until the party can stop him. That happened. Cloud has a lot of darkness there, but thanks to Tifa's love and support and everything, he's able to overcome that. So yes, Cloud is a fantastic hero, but he's got a lot of dark side to him. I don't think he's an S tier hero, but he did help to save the day a number of times. I'm going to lump him with... without Tifa and Zack's intervention, he would not have been. He would have gone fully to the dark side. It's thanks to their friendship and love that he is able to be such a fantastic hero. I am going to lump him here because he had a lot of self-doubt, even in like Advent Children, where he's able to finally overcome that again with the help of the spirit of Aerith and the support of his friends. Like, he fails. Link fails twice, and he fails too, but Link is always sure of himself. Cloud Breath of the Wild Link is always sure of himself. Cloud really isn't. So that's why I'm going to put Cloud here. Next up, of course, is going to be Bayonetta. I'm going to use my Nintendo voice here and say, please understand, my knowledge level of Bayonetta is probably about a 2 or a 3. I don't have a lot of strong knowledge with Bayonetta. That said, she is not so much an anti-hero, but she's worked with her friend Jean to beat Jubilus, I think his name is, to prevent a second Armageddon. Also worked with her father and Jean to defeat Aesir. She looks like an anti-hero, but she helps to really save the day. All the villains that she fight we're talking about destruction of the world or large amount of people dying. Like, this is, even the universe, these are pretty big villains. It looks like because she is an Umbra Witch, she has a fairly dark variant, and there's a variant of her that becomes Dark Eve, which is defeated by Viola. So it's kind of a thing where she's got that dark side. She's also rescued by Jean and some of her allies as well, and she's got a lot of good friendships. And generally, it doesn't really seem all that internally conflicted, as evidenced by her having amnesia and still wanting to do good and be on a mission. Call me crazy, because she has helped save the day 4 times, and even with amnesia, kind of like what Breath of the Wild Link had, she still is helping to save the day. I think she's a better hero than Breath of the Wild Link. It sounds funny, we're an Umbra Witch with a dark side, but the villains and all the games, the myriad of them, which again, with Link and only 2 villains, with it being Ganon and Ganondorf, like, it's evident that Bayonetta has had a lot more to deal with ever since, especially she was a kid, as evidenced by the Cereza Bayonetta Origins game. Now, Inkling, I have very little knowledge to the Splatoon games, especially the story modes. I'm going to be nice and put it with Roy and Byleth, just because, like, I don't know how often the Inkling has saved the day, or the player avatar has, if there was a story in Splatoons 1 through 3. So I'm going to be nice and put her at high Bs, because I think there was a larger story mode in the 3rd game, and there were stakes to that game. But yeah, so I'm just going to kind of put her there, and hopefully y'all Splatoon fans, let me know in the comment section below, or what sort of was that take, and how much that you liked the Splatoon series regarding the story. But yeah, so that's to that end. Let's knock another one out of the way. Where Minecraft, I have no experience with this long running series, but even with like sub games like Minecraft Dungeons, I'm gonna put Alex. Alex is the female variant of Steve, but Steve, I'm putting him. I don't know if there's a story mode to Minecraft, but I'm going to put it above Inkling, because I know with like Minecraft Dungeons, and I think there's even like Telltale versions of Minecraft, that there are stories and everything. I want to say that Steve, and even in fact, even to that end, I'm going to put it above Pac-Man, because I think with like games like Minecraft Dungeons, Steve, or that player avatar, is the hero and does a good job of being said hero. So next up, we're going to talk about the Castlevania boys. The Castlevania boys, talking about Simon and Richter. Simon has saved the day anywhere from I want to say 4 times, because you've got Castlevania on the NES, you got the MSX version, you've got Haunted Castle, the awful arcade game, and then you've got Super Castlevania 4, which is a remake of the first NES Castlevania. Every single time, Dracula is one of the most evilest of the evils, killing humans, releasing evil creatures looking to take over Transylvania. You got evil ass villain. You've got Simon saving the day 4 times. You've got the fact that Simon's never embraced the dark side at all. You got the fact, though, that Simon's technically always worked alone, no allies or anything like that. So, but he's never needed to be rescued, and it doesn't really seem like he's got any internal conflict because he's always a man on a mission, whether or not saving Transylvania, defeating Dracula, and/or rescuing his bride in Haunted Castle. That being said, he is a high A tier with rescuing everything 4 times. Technically, it's all the same. I guess it's all the same game, but it's different versions of the game. All the versions have shown him to be a high level character, but there's no real what if he had run into any issues? You know what I mean? Like no actual what if there was an RPG version of this? Like what would have happened with that? So I mean that kind of side, and it's all the fact that he saves the day in all-in-one version. Let's put him here, Simon here, between Minecraft and Pac-Man, because again, he saved the day. He's a hell of a hero, but it's all one version of it. So, and then with that being said, he did need to be saved by Richter. Richter is an interesting. Richter's not going to stay at A, by the way. Richter's interesting because he was the main hero. He did save the day. Again, when I'm talking Richter, we're not factoring any of the Castlevania anime, the Castlevania Nocturne, which is excellent, by the way. I recommend checking that out on Netflix. Richter is interesting because he saved the day in Rondo of Blood and technically Dracula X, another version, which is kind of like what with Simon Belmont. But he was the villain himself in Symphony of the Night, who had to be defeated by Alucard, or saved if the player controlling Alucard helps to kind of solve the riddle to reveal that it was really Shaft, the Dark Priest of Dracula, that was controlling Richter. So that being said, he's got a dark side. It's being taken over because he wants all the glory that he had as a hero, and it's really thanks to the ministrations of Alucard and Maria that he's able to be rescued, as it were. So really, and with him only saving the day once, and the fact that he's got the dark side to him, and the fact that from what I've read, the events after this, as mentioned throughout other Castlevania games, where the Belmont name sort of goes out of fashion until Julius Belmont takes it back up in the late 20th century, because there's a bit of shame to the Belmont name, to him being controlled by Shaft, the Dark Priest. So I'm going to put him sort of in the upper C tier. While he does save the day, he does end up kind of becoming the villain and everything like that. And he's got that dark side, and he sort of succumbs to that own inner shame that a lot of the others that sort of became villains didn't really have to them. Like Cloud does have guilt for Aerith dying as evidence in Advent Children, but he gets over it. DK has no shame. He'll just mess with Mario in the Mario vs. DK series, but then he'll just go back and help to save the day when he needs to help save his island. Whereas Richter sort of succumbs to that shame, but he does save the day at least. Next up, we're going to talk about Joker. Joker helps to save the day a number of times, whether it's Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 the actual game, or its other version, Royal. Was that Persona 5 Dancing in Moonlight, I think it is. So he saved the day a number of different times. I think there might even be a fighting games. I don't even know if there's a thing with that. And the villains for those games have been pretty tough too. I mean, you want to talk about one of the worst villains ever. I mean, Donald Trump. I mean, Masayoshi Shido. That was an awful villain. It basically ruined poor Joker's life, and he ends up coming back from that ruin. And Shido, being a megalomaniac, not only destroyed poor Joker's life, but also so many other lives, as evidenced by some of the lives in ruin, as shown, and even like using his son. Spoiler alert: using his son as a tool to ruin those lives and kill people and everything like that within the bounds of the game. Like the evilest of the evil. Some could say that Joker would be an anti-hero. I don't really look at him like that, even though he's like a trickster. In the hands of the player, Joker does great work to help not only beat that villain Shido, He also helps to save the world and the other villains from like Tactica and Persona 5 Strikers. He's got great allies. He really helped to save himself at the end, nearing the end of Persona 5, by being able to spot Igor and realize that that wasn't really Igor. So he kind of saved himself when he needed rescuing, if that makes any sense. And he helps to save his allies' lives too from there. And to me, Joker never really doubts himself. He's always self-assured. That the amount of times that Joker has saved the day and everything like that, the level of villains they are, I would say Joker is very high A tier. Very high A tier. Where Samus helps to succeed alone, Joker has helped to be successful with the help of his allies. The ability to trust others is sort of a level of vulnerability. If you can open your heart and trust others to have your back always, whereas Samus doesn't have that ability in a way, or Samus always feels the need to work on her own. I almost want to wait. I'm going to put Joker above Samus. Crazy. I love Samus Aran in the Metroid series, but I think Joker is just the level of heroism that he's got, and just the garbage that he had been through, and what was really at stake, especially the multiple endings if Joker fails, and failure is not an option, as funny as that sounds. Next up is going to be Hero, and Hero is a cheat, because while I said that multiple color swaps don't count, color swaps here represent other heroes. So that means that within the playable selectable character itself, there are 4 heroes, unlike Joker, where maybe his color scheme represents others, but it's still Joker. Or Diddy Kong, where his color swaps could represent Dixie Kong, for example, because his shirt's pink, but it's clearly still Diddy Kong. You swap the characters with Hero, and it's still Hero. That being said, Hero himself could represent 4 different heroes from Dragon Quest 3, 4, 8, and 11. So that means saving the world 4 times from villains that literally want to take over the world, and especially Dragon Quest 11, where it's successful and a lot of lives are at stake, including one of Hero's fellow party members that takes their own life in hand to save the rest of the team. Like, Hero, while he has never questioned himself, he's got a great set of partners and everything like that. It's a thing where he never questions his own ability to lead and be a hero. Sometimes he can do small acts of mischief by breaking pots and houses or anything, stuff like that. But like, there's no dark side to Hero. All 4 of them. But the villains are the worst. Dragon Quest IV's Hero is saved by the villagers. They sacrifice their lives so that he is locked and safe, as Tsaro's forces kill them all. Dragon Quest III's Hero had his father Ortega back him up near the end of the game, and Dragon Quest 8 and 11 had their allies back them up and save them before. Like, Dragon Quest 8's Hero, I'm trying to remember when specifically their lives were saved, but I remember in Dragon Quest 11, as a baby, his parents, his grandpa, and even Jade, when Jade was a little girl, saved baby Hero's life. So there's a lot going on with Hero's story. He's an excellent hero. Hero's a great hero. That being said, Dragon Quest Hero, I'm going to put above... I'm going to put right between these two, because he saved the day twice, helped the 3rd time, saved the day 4 times in the various 4 iterations. Toon Link, in all the iterations, Toon Link has been represented. I want to say it's up to like 7, I think. So that's why it's a good place for Hero. Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie, I'm going to warn you, while my knowledge level of the Dragon Quest games probably at an 8 or 9 out of 10, just because like I've only played Dragon Quest 8 once, and it was on the 3DS. It wasn't the greatest. Banjo-Kazooie, I played 1 hour of the first one. Not really my speed of game, but that being said, I know that Banjo does save his sister and revives Bottles in the first and second games, respectively. These villains are really evil too. Gruntilda is selfish, wanting to sacrifice Banjo's sister's beauty for her own. Banjo's sister's, I think her name is Tootie, sacrifice her beauty for freaking Gruntilda's, self-gain. When Gruntilda is defeated, they use the BOB machine to try and regenerate her life force, turning other people's essence into zombies. This, of course, being Gruntilda's sister, so that's really evil. Regarding dark side, Banjo's never done that. I've never taken to the dark side at all. He's taken different forms. I think in the second game, it was the second game that happened. And then Banjo helps to save Kazooie when traveling back in time. I think there's a Game Boy Advance game with that. So, because Banjo-Kazooie technically is two entities built into one, is that really the same thing? Banjo and Kazooie have really good friendships with all of those that they meet, including Tootie and Bottles and whatnot. And then there's no real internal conflict between them. So yeah, really, probably let's put you here. Probably I'm gonna say low A tier because there's no doubt of Banjo-Kazooie's abilities at all. Now Terry, again, I don't have any real experience with the SNK games. I know that he beat his nemesis Geese Howard, who killed his father. It's a thing where Terry worked with his brother Andy and his one friend Joe to help avenge his father's life. Never appears like Terry's had a dark side. It doesn't look like Terry ever really needed to be saved. Yeah, I don't really know too much about Terry so much as even the goodness out of his heart, he helps to raise Geese Howard's son Rock. Terry didn't have to do that. He wants to help make sure Rock and his dark tendencies, that Rock doesn't submit to them. And Terry helps to be a really good mentor for that. I don't know if you would say that Terry helped save the world or anything, but it seems like Terry's always got that positive personality too. So it's not anything where has any internal conflict. So I'm gonna put Terry probably high B tier, only because I don't know if he's really helped save anything. Yeah, maybe Geese Howard's awful, but I don't remember there being any sort of negative consequences to that beyond that awfulness. Now Pyra and Mythra I'm lumping together because of course Pyra, if I'm remembering the story of Xenoblade 2 right, Xenoblade 2 is the only game that I didn't finish from front to back. I only got about 20-25 hours into it. A lot of the story beats, I have a lot of issues with Xenoblade 2. You want to check out my video of worse RPGs that I've tried to play, because I kind of go into detail about that. I don't want to get into that here, but regarding overall heroism, Pyra and Mythra aren't really the level of Shulk or Rex, just because they're more literally the blades. And that's literally what they're called, I think. They're literally the tools that Rex uses to be able to help save the world. It's not really them saving it, they're helping save the world. Almost kind of like how Rosalina and Luna it is in a way. And to that end, I'm going to put them right in the same way, because they take a more active effort because they help Rex, but they're not actually doing the work. It's Rex and his party that helps to do the work to save the world, if that makes sense. If I'm remembering the storyline of Xenoblade 2. Let me know in the comments section below how off base I am with that, because I might be. I don't know. The idea that these two help to save the world, but Little Mac is over there with his own fighting career, but him being the underdog, whereas these two are immensely powerful. Yeah, I'm putting Pyra over Mythra, because even though I think technically Mythra is more powerful than Pyra, and Pyra is a more diminutive form, both personality-wise and power-wise, than Mythra. Again, if I'm remembering the story right, Pyra tends to look out for Rex a little bit more often, again, if I'm remembering that right. But So last character that we're going to run through is, last but not least, it's going to be Sora from the Kingdom Hearts series. So I'd say my overall knowledge level is probably about a 7 out of 10 knowledge level with the Kingdom Hearts series. I've played all of the mainline ones, 1, 2, and 3, as well as some of the spin-offs like Birth by Sleep and Chain Memories. But a lot, when you really get into the even further spin-offs like 358, 2 Days, and stuff like that, or Recoded, didn't really get into those. So my knowledge will be a little bit limited. But Sora himself has saved the day in the mainline series every single time, as well as a number of the offshoots. So he's got a number of pluses there. The ultimate villain, Xehanort, is like the evilest of the evil. He wants to use Kingdom Hearts himself to reshape the universe that's in a form where it's like half and half light and darkness, because he believes light's been dominant for too long. But his methods of trying to do this have resulted in worlds being torn apart and or destroyed. Like a lot of the characters and everything being subject to the whims of placement in other worlds, and it's just a lot of really bad stuff. It even like lives themselves being killed or destroyed. Now Sora himself, when it comes to like his dark side, he did get turned into a Darkless, and that was he did get turned into a Heartless, and he did so on purposefully, as he used the Keyblade to unlock his own heart, where Kyrie's heart was trapped in the first entry. But then Kyrie then went and saved his life and turned him from the cute little intended Heartless into his back to himself. Not before his body being split off into its own nobody called Roxas. Now, regarding the fact of him being rescued, it was, as I mentioned, it was Kyrie that had saved him. It also, Riku saves Sora when he takes the nobody of Roxas and merges it with Sora himself prior to the events of the second Kingdom Hearts game. And of course, King Mickey can save Sora when Sora's hit points are depleted in the second entry if certain conditions are met. And Sora himself has a number of really close friendships, relationships, and whatnot. That includes the likes of Donald and Goofy that he meets on the beginning of his travels, to Riku and Kairi, whom are childhood friends, and then he makes friends with every single Disney character that's not a villain in all the worlds that he travels to. And Sora himself does have like a cheerful personality, but he does kind of question his own abilities from time to time, depending on the events that occurs in the games. So like this includes in the first game when Riku takes the Keyblade, because Riku was the original chosen person to wield the Keyblade, as well as when Sora questions his abilities when he fails the Keyblade Mastery exam in Dream Drop Distance. Which to me it's like, okay, Sora and Riku work together to save the day in Dream Drop Distance, but Sora still fails the test. That's like, what the heck? But overall, with his history and everything like that, I'm going to put him probably above, probably between, actually above Hero, because Hero represents 4 different heroes from 4 different Dragon Quest games, whereas Sora himself has saved the day a number of times. So like individually, maybe even to that end and that reasoning, that's why he'd be a better hero than Toon Link, because Toon Link, Wind Waker, Toon Link has saved the day twice, but Spirit Tracks, Toon Link has only done it once. So to that end, this single hero saving the day, like I think it's like even what, like 6 to 8 times total. Like he definitely deserves to be like this high up. This is my tier list. This is basically where everyone was at, where you've got S tier heroes with heroes that had heroic levels of like 9 or above, where these individuals have saved the day time and time again, not doubting their abilities whatsoever, and against villains that are, based on these 5, are fairly evil to pretty evil, but not like killing people or anything like that, but still pretty persistent villains, but they're stopped time and time again, never letting the darkness corrupt them really, almost never villains, and always eyes, mind on track. And then you get to the A tier where, yeah, a lot of these heroes have saved the day a number of times, either individually, like Joker, Samus, Sora, even to a lesser extent, like twice, like a Toon Link and Marth, or many different versions of them, such as Toon Link, or singular versions many different port times, or many different times, like Samus, like Simon Belmont. But consistently, these heroes, if they have had a dark side at all, or if they've ever failed at all, or if they've been rescued at all, they've been able to overcome that and be able to fight for the side of good pretty consistently. And these heroic levels are anywhere from like 8 to 9. These individuals here, this is kind of like my default tier, where I either didn't have a lot of experience with them, or it was maybe they only saved the world once, and because of that, and the fact that if they did save the day, it was only once, or maybe there wasn't as much on the line, or it wasn't as clear what was on the line, or kind of stuff like that. I really kind of had the hero level between 7 and 8. But again, a lot of them I don't have experience with, like Terry Bogard, Roy, the Inkling, Corrin, maybe even a little bit Lucas, and Ryu and Ken. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then you got heroes here, which are kind of labeled as heroes, but either they've got dark pasts, or they didn't save the world that much, or they've got dark pasts, like kind of like these two, or they've been rescued a heck of a lot more times than they've saved the world, or they're just an avatar representing a larger hero like Zero Suit Samus, or Little Mac, to where sheer gumption puts him out of the D tier, where he has never saved the world, and he's just a little guy fighting literally out of his weight class. Then finally you got D tier heroes, where they've never really saved the world, or their dark side has sort of superseded what they have done, like DK. Like I would say he's been more of a villain more than he's saved the day, I guess you could say. And when he saved the day, the what was at stake wasn't as high, like his own banana horde or stuff like that. Sheik technically being an avatar kind of the Ocarina of Time Zelda, kind of like with Zero Suit Samus, one of Samus. And Zelda not really saving the day. Rosalina not saving the day. Palutena technically doesn't save the day. And Dr. Mario not really saving the day because he's just handing pills to you, the player, who's destroying the pills. It's not really said whether or not like I guess he saved the day in Dr. Mario 64 with that story mode, but I don't know if we could technically really count that. And then Pyra and Mithra, really, do they count, because they're more weapons, and they're not the ones actually saving it. It's Rex that saves the day, but like they're at least the weapons that are being given to Rex, so that's why I've ranked them so poorly. But let me know what you think in the comments section below on this. I'm really curious to see what you think. Like, do you agree with the fact I've got Luigi higher than Mario? Am I letting my my own sort of preference for Luigi, like, sort of staining my grade here? Or did I make a compelling enough argument with the fact that Luigi is with Mario on most of the games, especially the 2D ones, and the fact that Luigi's able to fight? Is Daisy the worst hero out of all of these because she's one of just 12 characters in Super Mario Bros. Wonder that helps to save the day? She saved once and is only interested in parties, karting, and sports. So what do you think about Pokemon, where I don't have them at all? Let me know. I'd love to start a dialogue with you. I love the Super Smash Brothers series in general, as you can see, hopefully evidenced by some of the background that is in this video and all of the videos that you see my ugly butt in. Thank you, of course. Thank you once again for joining me. Please remember to like or dislike and subscribe. To get more content and ring that bell for notifications, as I got a little more fun content that isn't as long as this video normally. I've also got the podcasts that are on every Tuesday or Wednesdays that make sure you check out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube here. And once again, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.